Hello, how you guys doing? Welcome to Against the Fence. My name's Silas and you're watching live fighter Q&A here on ATF. This is where we bring you the fighters and you get to ask the questions. Today we're going to be sitting down with the Maverick herself, Miranda Maverick. She is was introduced to us way back on our television screens back in 2020, if you remember. It was Fight Island, one of the few good things to come out of the pandemic, if you like. But promised prospect, a triple threat in the women's flyweight division. You're talking here of a record of 12 wins, 5 losses, 5 wins in UFC, 3 in the losses in UFC, fighting out of Denver. And as I said earlier, it's the women's flyweight division, Miranda Maverick, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for jumping onto the show, Miranda. It's been, it's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I'm excited to talk to the whole UK audience. I don't get to do that very often.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you know much sort of UK lingo, slang, or, you know, you got some Americanisms, but do you know any UK-isms at all?
I don't think I do. And if I tried, I'd just embarrass myself. So probably not. I do have a sponsor that hails from the UK, though, Nick Sampson.
Shout out to Nick.
Who runs USA over here. So he's tried to teach me some slang, but I don't think they were very good slang. I think they were pretty crude slang. So I don't say anything he tells me.
Miranda, that's where we start. You always start there. You know, if you want to learn the language, you start with the naughty words and then you go back from there.
Of course.
That's always the way. No, look, thanks for the time. You know, it's about 3 p.m. you said in the afternoon where you are. We're kind of approaching 10 o'clock here at night, but we do have a fantastic audience that has tuned in already for us on the channels. They'll be asking some questions just a little bit later, so we'll be looking forward to getting into some of them. So big shout out to George, who's there in the chats, and Breezy as well. Thanks for jumping in, guys. Thanks for being here. Feel free, anyone else who wants to ask some questions. Oh, your favorite blockhead as well. Big shout out. Any questions you guys got, then feel free to pile them on in, and then we'll get to that segment a little bit later on in the show where we can bring it to the Maverick herself. Where do we start, right? I guess, Miranda, you put out a post earlier today, didn't you? Hot off the press, if you like.
Right.
You announced you're going to be fighting with Andrea Lee. This is going to be in UFC 298, so that's going to be like February time, isn't it? But
Yep, February 17th, exactly, in Anaheim, California, out here in the US.
Yeah.
So I'm not super excited about going to California for the fight, but that's where it is, so that's where I'm going.
You know, you just go where the fight takes you. I mean, you've been campaigning for it for a
Right.
while now, though, haven't you? Something that's been on the, I think you posted it about a couple of months or so back. But
Yeah, a couple months ago, I tried to get the fight with Andrea Lee. Her and I
Mm.
messaged back and forth over text, and I was like, hey, you want to fight? Like, let's try to fight. Let's hype this up. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. I'd love to have December arranged somewhere in there. And I was like, me too. Obviously, December didn't happen. Then January
Yeah.
didn't happen. I was like, getting like, come on, it's going to be 8 months before I have a fight. And now here we are, February. My last fight was in July, and I've been ready to go ever since. So kind of frustrating to have to sit on the bench. And I think a lot of fans don't understand that we have no control over that. Unless you're in like the top 5, you have a little bit more leverage then, you know.
Mm.
But if you're just like a ranked fighter or even below that, you don't really have any pull. You just have to wait for a phone ring.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's especially when you're like in the prime of your life, you kind of want to get a next one in real quick. You know, if you're kind of in that prime state, you don't kind of wait for that window to pass, I imagine. Yeah. What is it about her style particularly that made you think this fight would be good?
Well, she's right around the same ranking as me. She's been ranked for years and now is coming off of 2 losses. I've been wanting to fight her for a while, so it's not like I was like, oh, she finally lost, now I want to fight her. You know, I've called her out before. Her and I spoke about fighting before, and it just never worked out. I think stylistically, it's just a good matchup. She has pretty good grappling, really good striking. And I'd say I have really good grappling and pretty good striking. So,
Yep.
well-roundedness going in there, just like I had against Macy. I think it makes for really fun, exciting fights that get remembered through the ages. So I'd love to fight Andrea as she's kind of, I'd say, starting to lower her hype in the career. But I've always looked up to her. She actually was in Invicta when I started in Invicta, and I think she was fighting the night that I had my first pro fight for a title shot, maybe. I can't remember for sure. But I remember watching her and just being like, wow, she's ferocious in there. I need to work on my hand speed and get it like Andrea. And I remember working on her during a female mega camp a few years back. And they bring in fighters from all over, and you get to train with each other because females, you know, especially even 5 years ago, there weren't very many of us out there in the US.
Right.
And so they're bringing them together, learning how to train together. And she was so good at Taekwondo and so good with her kicks.
Oh,
And I'm over
really?
there feeling like a 5-year-old who's never done anything. And I was like, this is terrible. I was like, but I can teach you to wrestle. I got that part going on. So
Yeah.
I know her. We're good acquaintances, and I'll be happy and respectful going into this fight.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's nice. And sounds like a challenge. Sounds like it's a good. And she's coming off of what is it, a free fight skid as well. So, you tend to think that sometimes people who are coming off of those losing streaks have a different like gear within them, like different animosity to kind of not extend that to 4 or 5. I don't know about Tony Ferguson as an example. I think his one's broken, but just generally people don't like to extend those kind of lost streaks.
Yep. Yeah, I think that she's going to be kind of backed against the cage, so to speak, and like really be trying to fight hard.
Mm,
And I'll be ready for it. I expect a fast pace. I expect a lot of volume out of Andrea, and she's been working on her wrestling a lot too. It seems like, so I'm
yeah.
expecting a lot of grappling potentially in this fight as well.
Nice, yeah. Like I said, it could be a triple threat here. We could be seeing us go to the ground. Could be quite technical with the hands as well. I think you're right. It's going to be a good fight. You mentioned something in there as well, like Macy Barber, for example. That was a great fight. Stylistically, I thought it was a good matchup for you. I don't know if the timing was right. I've always wanted that to happen a bit later on, a bit later on down the line. That I could make it a bigger fight because I just thought it was perfect. But yeah, split decision, but it was close and it was a good fight for what it lasted. But
Yeah.
but yeah, fun fights. They stay with you. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
but I did have another question here actually. So it's a bit more on the division, the top end, of course. So it's the flyweight division needs a new challenger. Who do you think should have the next shot? Is it going to be Shevchenko? Is it going to be Blanchfield? Someone else you've actually shared the octagon with yourself, or Faro? What's your opinions on that?
Man, I mean, there's so many. Obviously, the Talia Santos thing, like, I don't know what's going on with that. They talked about the contract and she's out, she's in. Nobody knows what's really going on with
Mm,
that. I still think she had a very close fight with Valentina Shevchenko. So I'd say if she ends up redoing her contract with the UFC, that'd be a good fight again. But I see Erin Blanchfield being the next title contender is my best guess. I think that she has a lot of momentum behind her. She's young, she's hungry.
mm,
She's shown a lot of improvement in her skill over time. When I fought her, I guess it could be seen as prideful, but
mm,
I did a terrible job in that fight. It's very unfortunate what happened. I underestimated her skills. I had seen her in Invicta and she'd improved a lot since then. And that's
mm.
what happens when you're 20 and 21 coming into the fight game.
Right.
There's so much change that can happen that quick from different teams. But she went in there and she's finished everybody else, up until the last fight or two. So
Mm.
I'm happy that I got as far as I did, but I'd also love to run that back at one point or another. But I think she deserves a title shot. I think Manon's right up there as well.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Do they have a fight scheduled together?
As,
Manon versus
say again. Who? Sorry.
Manon versus Aaron. Are they both fighting each other soon? I can't
The
remember.
next fight for Erin Blanchfield. I'd have to double check that actually. I'm not entirely sure. I think she's got one scheduled already. She surely would by now.
Okay.
Yeah, I just can't remember who it is. I'll probably get the guys in the chat to check and fire it over, and they can let us know. But yeah,
Yeah, it was Blanchfield, but I think they should fight each other, and then whoever wins out of that one should go for the next title shot.
yeah. I mean, Shevchenko's had a chance already. I mean, people can argue that she has a third crack at it.
Yeah.
Well, they no third or fourth. They would settle that basically. It still needs to be settled. It's a score that's not yet done. But do they do it now? That's the question. Erin Blanchfield could
Yeah,
come
I think
through.
wait. I think they want to mix it up a little bit. You
Mm,
don't want to keep seeing the same fight over
no.
and over and over again in a row. It's one thing if you have it happen 2 fights from now,
Mm,
but I do think she deserves it for sure. But I think get some new blood in there, have Aaron or Manon fight for the title, and then the winner of that one
yeah.
go against Valens, that kind of thing.
Sharing the octagon with Erin yourself, as you said you did. What do you think it is? Let's say that is the next matchup for Grasso. What do you think Grasso needs to be looking out for in that particular fight?
Wrestling defense times 100. I think that is her key to winning this. Now, I will say Erin showed a lot of aggression on her hand with her hands going against Andrade, and I was impressed. I was surprised and I was impressed. And Andrade was coming off the sofa, I think, though. I don't think she had a good fight camp leading up to that. Very short notice, and she's a heavy fighter already.
Mm,
But I think that fight she showed that she had a lot of good striking for Erin, and I think Alexa still could do really well in the striking, but I don't think grappling is the way to go for her to secure a win.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Um,
but honestly, I think Erin would win that fight.
You reckon she
pretty
would?
handily.
Yeah. Confidently.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think she's built a little bit different, and I think it's the challenge that the top end of the division's needing to see for a while. You know, we've seen a big gap historically between Shevchenko and the rest of the girls until recently. The queen, she bleeds, and ever since we saw that, then I think it's just been we can see a whole full rotation of the belt going from hand to hand in the next
Yeah.
evolution of the division, I think, as well. So, no, you're right. It's exciting times for women's flyweight for sure. I guess then about your training, like your particular matchups, right? So you talk about the next evolution of fighter. You are someone who is great with the grappling. You're good with your hands as well. You have that kind of forward pressure when fighting with opponents too. You know, how's your current training going? Where are you training out of now? You know, is it the do you travel down to the Goat Shed MMA to train as well? Or I know you're finding out in Denver, but could you know, off air earlier, you give us a little bit of color as to what that looks like and how you're preparing for your next fights?
So I'm based in Denver, Colorado, or Littleton, Colorado, whatever you want to say. I go to many different gyms throughout the week, but my primary gyms that I train at are Easton Training Center in Denver and Pound for Pound Muay Thai in Littleton.
Right.
And that's where my two head coaches, they're both the owners of those gyms. And so I work with them personally. I'm one of two athletes that Elliot Marshall now coaches, myself and Drew Dober. And then Justin Houghton is my primary striking coach, who is the owner of Pound for Pound Muay Thai. So get a lot of good training with them. There's a lot of high level females out here in the Denver area. You know, my main training partner is getting ready to fight for the world title, Raquel Pennington. So I'm really excited for that. We have a lot of girls who come out here to cross train with us. And of course, there's a lot of girls over at Team Elevation, JJ Aldrich, Montana De La Rosa was out here for a bit too. Lauren Murphy comes out here for her camps. Like there's a lot of high level girls out here that I get to train with and work with on a regular, and of course a lot of the smaller guys too, which is pretty awesome. Like Tatsuro just got done coming out here and training, and I got to work with him a lot, which he's one of the flyweights in the UFC from over in Japan. So that was really good as well. And yeah, it's just great training out here. I cross train a lot too, though, but it's not necessarily I'm going there to train. It's more I'm already going somewhere for a different cause, whether it be for work or a seminar or
Right.
a meet and greet, and I end up cross training wherever the best gyms are. So I have went to Goat Shed. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
I kind of go wherever the good gyms are when I travel.
Yeah, I was going to ask because before the Priscilla fight, you did travel down to the Goat Shed MMA to train, of course. So it's a case of bouncing from place to place depending on the opponent and of course where you tend to find yourself.
Right, where I find myself, I actually just stay here. When it's close to fights, my coaches don't like me traveling at all, and I'm completely fine with that, just so I keep a consistent schedule, consistent training partners, and consistent coaching, you know, around me when I'm sparring. So when I travel, it happens to work out, but like my Priscilla fight was on like a 9-day notice or something like that. So I had already been down there and I was back, and then I got the call and I was like, oh, well, that worked out good.
Yeah. I love it when a plan comes together. I did one last thing for me actually, then we're getting some fan questions, but did a bit of digging, and it might be a bit of an uncommon knowledge. You're a bit of an artist, aren't you?
I am. I actually do pencil sketches, silhouettes, like I make logos for businesses. I've actually had my own art business since I was 11 years old. So found out that I could draw because we had to do a self-portrait thing in middle school. You know, it's the beginning of middle school, and they're like, okay, here's a picture of you, go trace it on the window and then work on your shading. And most people's look like a smiley face with some lines through it, you know. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to trace mine. I'm going to really try on this. And, you know, middle school, you don't have life going on. I was like, I've got all the time in the world. I'm going to do this. And over a 2-day span, I made it, and it looks just like me. I mean, even to this day, I haven't changed all that much. And I drew that at 11 years old, and I brought it home, and my dad was like, what the hell?
Wow.
How did you do that? You know? And I was like, I don't know. I just did it. And he was like, do it again. And so I drew like John Wayne, and I drew Taylor Swift for somebody and sold it for $10. Okay. Somebody in the US has a picture of Taylor Swift in their house that I drew for $10 that has my signature on it when I was 11 years old.
And I started money one day. That's going to add up.
Yeah. So started selling them, and now, you know, it's part of my little side hobby, I guess you'd say. And I have people buy them from me, and I do ones as big as like 18 by 24, 30 by 20, all that.
Wow. So, and I guess if you're talking about It's something I said a bit earlier, actually. If you're not like spitting blood on the canvas and you're kind of spitting paint on it instead, so you do kind of love the canvas, isn't it? Clearly, but
Right. I say I'm an artist. I'm not just a martial artist, but I'm an artist in many
yeah, many
forms.
forms, in many forms. Just love the canvas. How do you find time for that? I mean, does it take long to do each kind of artwork? I mean, if someone looking to get a portrait done, is that going to take the best part of a week? Would it be a day? Or
Yeah, yeah. I tell people to give like if somebody wants it done fast, I usually charge an extra fee for like a hey, you're giving me short notice for it. And sometimes I'll have to say I can't do that. Like I've had somebody ask me if I
yeah,
could get it to them in 2 weeks when I'm getting ready for a fight, and
oh
I'm like,
yeah.
no way.
I think,
Because for me, it's just whenever I have a break, basically.
mm,
I see drawing as a way for me to have a mental break from things, and I'll just go and kind of lose myself in it.
mm,
And a lot of times I'm so busy and so stressed that I don't even have time to do that. But yeah, I only take about 10 to 12 hours, depending on how hard the drawing is. Like on a singular person, then if it's two people, maybe more like 15 hours. And you think about it, span through days, and I work on it 3 hours here, 3 hours there. It takes a while, right? So
mm.
just depends on how long they take me. But yeah, I love doing it. It's kind of my side hobby. I like just doing it in my free time.
Well, there you have it. If anyone wants to have an artist or Maverick draw a portrait for them, then she can. So
Into the UK, too. I've sent two overseas now.
yay! Look at that! Look at that! Let's go to some of the fan questions. Let's see what they're going to say, and maybe they might be asking for they might be asking what you can draw or paint them. Maybe we'll see. um, let's have a look. So we have a question in here from George Merry. He says, "You versus Molly after 298?" Question mark. Molly Meatball.
I wish I could fight Molly McCann. I don't think she likes me very much. Obviously, there was the feud back and forth there for a while, where she was a smart ass while she was drunk, and I just kind of was a smart ass back. And it ended up not working out to fight. Now she's dropped down to
Oh,
115, and she's been running ever since. I mean, there were two opportunities for us to fight each other, and I don't know whether it was her directly that said no or a matchmaker, but it just never happened.
oh,
So I'm gonna say that won't turn out. I honestly think I'd demolish her anyway. She's a bully, and if she can't be a bully in there, she doesn't do well. And I feel like the technique difference is big. People are like, "Oh, she'd smash you," and I'm like, literally, she's lost against anyone that was good. And Erin went in there and destroyed her within like a minute and a half when I lasted with Erin for all 3 rounds while she was trying to submit me. So I think that shows a little bit of something, but I don't think it's realistic now anyway. She's moved down a weight class. Her ranking isn't even up close to
mm,
mine, so there'd be no real gain in it for me.
yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. But stylistically, it could be a good match.
Yeah, could
Yeah.
be.
Let's have a look what other questions we've got. We've got goated footballers. Hello, 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 goated footballers. Welcome into the chat. Welcome into the chat. Next question up. We have. Let's see what we got here. Here we go from Psycho Paul. He says, "How do you deal with social media hate?" Now, I wonder, Psycho Paul, is this something that you get a lot, or is this a bit of wisdom
A
from
lot.
Maverick?
Yeah, I get it a lot. So when I started out in the UFC, it was actually hard for me to take. I wasn't very good at it. You know, we all have our insecurities, and certain insecurities hit me harder than others. And so when I fought Liana Jojua, who's like a social media model over in her country and all that, it was like, oh, there's a transgender fighting her, and I was always like, what the fuck? Like just because I have muscles, you know? And there was
Oh,
a whole Reddit page called Miranda Manrick, no joke. And I was just like, what the fuck? And there's people like editing pictures and doing all kinds of stuff down to very dirty things, of course, very crass things. And I was just like, cool. And I was pretty upset about it. And my husband was like, why do you give a fuck? Like, I love you. I think you're
mm,
beautiful. A lot of people do. You're just letting like the haters bother you because you whooped her butt. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And then there's been other forms of like hate on social media, like when they'll lose money from my fights,
mm.
which I'm like, that's not my responsibility. Maybe you shouldn't bet. That's the point of
You, you,
gambling. You risk, you
you
know?
can't help
I'm
that.
like, I obviously don't want to lose either. I bet I lost more money than all of you did, you know, like from losing this fight. And when I lost the fight to Jasmine in Canada, they were like, you called out somebody and then lost. And I'm like, well, I went blind in the second round, you know, and one eye, like, obviously like it sucked for me. I didn't perform at my best after that because I was
Mm,
just in flight or fight mode, you know. But people were big haters after that. I had people calling me out, telling me I should commit suicide, telling me I should pay them back, and if not, they were gonna like kill me. Like all kinds of different threats and things like that on social media. And I made like a public announcement about it.
Mm,
And it kind of stopped after that. And of course, a lot more people are supporters than they are haters, but we're always going as humans to focus on the negative parts. And when it's 10%, I mean, that's quite a bit of messages where I'm just having to block, 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 So there's that. And then there's, of course,
mm.
vulgar comments that you get every once in a while, but I just ignore those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I hear that. And that's, I'm sorry to hear, but that's so unfortunate. It's just, why do people get the energy to sort of feed that?
I think they have too much energy,
Too
They're
much.
having other people pay their bills. They're sitting on a couch eating potato chips and think they'll just talk shit on somebody they lost $10 on because we can't find them and we're not going to do anything anyway. Let me tell you, none of them would say it to my face.
Exactly. Right. Right. They absolutely wouldn't. And I'd like to dare them to try, see how far that goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe they can bet money on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Bet against themselves, and then that's a sure win.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what other questions we got here. We got George Mary in the chats again. Okay, so this is George. He's saying, starting from Feb, how many fights do you want to have in 2024? Are you going to be quite active?
Yeah, I like being active. Like I said at the beginning when we started talking, I don't get that choice, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Like, I don't get to say, hey, UFC, I want to fight 7 times this year, make it happen. They kind of limit us on that. They just have to offer us 3 in a year. It doesn't matter if you're sick in bed. If you say no to the offer, it's a fight offer. So I would love to fight 4 times in a year. That's how I'd always like to have it. But usually it ends up being more along the lines of 2 to 3. So I'm hoping 3 at the very least, and I would really love 4.
Okay.
And I'll stay ready for short notice. I'm one of the very few fighters that does. Like, I keep my weight low. I stay lean. Not right now. I just got done eating Thanksgiving, so don't make fun of me. But I
fine.
usually stay.
That's fine.
I
At first, I was wondering that, because you did say I want to start fighting around October, November time. I was like, it's Thanksgiving around then. Sure.
Right. Well, that's when I was like, I usually stay fit, and if I know I'm potentially going to have a fight, I'll just not eat. But this time, this is the first time I've gotten to have Thanksgiving and Christmas with my family and actually eat. So they're all pretty excited too.
Nice. So I guess when you get back into January, first off, back into camp, it's into getting ready for Feb.
For sure. And even December, I'll be pretty light on how much I eat. I'm not going to be eating desserts every night, but I'll have a nice Christmas dinner at least.
Oh, solid. That's good. I've got some really good questions coming through at the moment. I mean, this is Tone in the chat. He's got quite a few here. He's had a few questions from, what does it mean to be a fighter for you? If you could have a dream fight with anyone, who would it be? But I really like this one, so we'll get this one up on screen. He says, my daughter is 7, and she's in karate right now. And she asked, what advice do you have for her to get into the UFC? Probably not when she's 7 years old, but, later in
right. Right. Well, for one, I'm not going to be mean to karate in any ways. I respect karate, but I would suggest you start getting her into more of a kickboxing and jiu-jitsu kind of sport, a little bit more of the more practical martial arts for the UFC. You don't see many of us that have karate backgrounds, and those of us that do evolve from that very quickly. So start getting her into ground game is what I would say, more so than even the striking, because they've kind of had proof and research done over time that it's a lot easier to learn striking than it is to learn grappling. Plus, if you think about it, I can still swing. If I'm a wrestler and I can just swing my hands, I might knock somebody out. But if you don't know any grappling and you're a great striker and somebody gets you to the ground, you're done. There's no way you can do anything.
Yeah.
So always get them, especially if it's a female. I'm huge about self-defense. I'm huge about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for self-defense. I teach seminars on it all the time. I teach women's Jiu-Jitsu. I think it's the most practical, realistic, not just sport, but thing for self-defense that you can do for women and females and males, of any age. So I would suggest getting her into jiu-jitsu, starting with some kickboxing, and start competing at a young age, and never push them too hard, right? Let them decide, never let them quit on a bad day, but on a good day if they want to quit. And just go after anything hard. It doesn't matter if you get in the UFC or not, but just be successful and try your best at whatever you do.
I love that. Particularly, never let them really think about it when it comes to wanting to quit on a bad day. Do it in a clear mind on a good day, because emotions can drive us to do silly things.
Absolutely. There's days I want to quit too. If I just quit when I come off a loss, it's not a very good idea.
Yeah, right.
Wait until you're
It's Sophia here in the chat, wants to know, what's up, it's Sophia? He wants to know what your dream venue to fight at, and probably got time for one more question before we'd have to shoot on off. But he will. for now.
I don't know. If it weren't for all my teammates, or not my teammates, but my team, like my coaches and stuff that would have to come with me and take the 20-hour flight and all that, I would love to fight in Australia. But also, I love Vegas. I know that sounds silly, but they don't take any of my taxes. So I like Vegas a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that sounds fun. They kind of tax you in other ways. You know, the bright lights and the casinos kind of draw you into it. Gives you a bit of an excuse to spend what you're not losing anyway.
I don't fall for that stuff, luckily.
Good. Oh, brilliant.
I'm gonna have one more probably.
All right. So, question here. Raphael's in the chat. Let's get a question out from Raphael. He says, I have a question for Miranda Maverick. After the fight against Jasmine, you're having a scary situation with your left eye. How did you fight so hard after that incident? Okay, cool. So when you went through the second round and third round, how did you carry on in the midst of your mind obviously thinking, my vision's getting worse? And that's going to be scary.
I mean, I didn't feel like I did very well. I mean, the second round on, when it happened, I felt like I just fought very scared and hesitant, and I shot when I shouldn't have shot. I didn't strike like I should have, and just fought very hesitantly. I was very disappointed in it, and I've just never had that kind of thing happen in a fight. I've had eye injuries before, and because of my severe eye injuries I've had with retina surgeries, I was very worried because I've been told, like, if my retina gets torn again, like, there's a very high risk I'll be blind permanently. So that kind of thing going through my mind and feeling like I can't tell my coaches and stuff because there's cameras in my face, and I'm afraid if a commentator hears it or something, they're going to send a doctor in, and if the doctor goes in, the whole fight stops. You know, I didn't want that to happen. So I just kept fighting and thought to myself, I can at least finish this fight, even if I don't win. Like, I've never been finished in a fight, and I don't plan to have it happen now.
Yeah. No, perfect. And it's almost difficult because you're battling on two ends, not just physically, but mentally as well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We did say that was the end for the fan questions. And that'll be the end for the segment. We'll have time, if there is anything after, to do a quick game, but that'll be offline, and then we'll package it into like a video, and we can fire it off to the guys to join. It does play, you got a choice actually. The choice would either be on Top Gun, a pop quiz on Top Gun, Maverick, because you know you love Top Gun, you're the Maverick.
Right.
Or being an artist yourself, I've mocked together 5 really quick images with my artistic skills. I call myself a bit of an artist too, to be fair. I think
Okay.
So you kind of got to look at my images and tell me what they are based on what I've drawn.
I'm wrong? Are you gonna not like me if I don't get it?
I mean, you know, if it's a scribbly line and you say it's a sun when it's clearly a family and a dog, then I'll be pretty disappointed.
That sounds a little bit more creative. That sounds fun.
Yeah, you know, one artist to another, right? So it's it'll be playing a bit along the lines of that. But for now, for the live session and for those questions, thanks everyone on the YouTube channels for coming in. Thank you for asking your questions. Thanks for being here. We'll have to say goodbye to you guys now. But do stay tuned, do like, do subscribe to the channel as well. And what we'll be able to do is give you access to more fun things, even that video that's going to be coming out a little bit later as well, of the game that we'll be doing behind the scenes as well. So you get access to that too. So like, subscribe, be here. We'll be back on the weekend this Saturday night. We'll be doing a watch long to the event. So you can also like and subscribe and join us for that. Or I understand, Maverick, you'll also be doing a watch long this weekend, aren't you? Would you like to do any promotion? You got the floor.
That would be great, actually. If you guys go on my Instagram, it's at Fear the Maverick. Pretty easy to find me. It's just my nickname, Maverick. You can go on there. The link's in my bio to go watch for free. Just a watch party. I'll be there for the main card, most of it at least. You guys can watch. I'll just be commentating along with the fights. I'll be doing these almost monthly for millions.co. So just go check it out. You can see my post on Instagram, or you can go check it out in the link in my bio. And I also have my website, fearthemaverick.net, if you guys are ever interested in grabbing some Maverick gear that I can send your way. And I do ship to the UK. So just feel free to message me if you guys want some stuff, and I might even be able to take off some of the sales tax. Let me know.
Look at that. I do have a quick question before we go. Do you kind of just walk around with the Top Gun Danger Zone song playing in your head just on a normal day? Does it just happen?
Not quite, but if you ask any of my teammates and my coaches, they get pretty annoyed when it's my fight camp and it's my turn to turn on the tunes.
Yeah.
Always, and there's always that plays at least once or twice, especially when I'm weight cutting. They're like, "Do you never change your playlist?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
Do I ever change my name? Then no. This is it. Yeah, I mean, we have a particular song, Barbara O'Reilly. We'll play that like before we get going with a live event sort of thing, just to kind of get into the mood and everything as well. So we do love that one. That's one of our favorite ones. But yeah, as we're talking about it, Danger Zone is just on repeat right now, rent free up there. All right, time to say goodbye to everyone. Do stick around, Miranda. I'll catch up with you just in a second. But just to say to the wide audience, thanks for tuning in. This is Against the Fence. Had a lot of fun being here with you guys today. Do come back this weekend and do plug into the socials as well. Love, peace, and chicken grease.